Okay. Sort of getting ready here. Good morning and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment hearings for Rural Panel 3. We're a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including minor variances to the zoning requirements and consent to sever land. Our hearings are now in person at Ben Franklin Place, 101 Centerpoint Drive. We also enable remote participation by video conferencing for our registered speakers. We are live streaming on YouTube, and the video will be archived and available for future viewing by the public. My name is Bill Hunter. I'll be chairing today's hearings, and you can address me by my name or as chair. With me are panel members on my near left, Jocelyn Chander, my far left, Martin Vervoort, and my right, Beth Henderson. Panel member Terry Otto is not here today. The procedure for the hearings will be as follows. Listed on the agenda and appearing on screen from time to time are the applications we'll hear today. For the sake of efficiency, I may deal with agenda items in a different order. Panel members have reviewed the planning reports and any written submissions in support of or in opposition to each of the applications. Today we'll hear any oral submissions relating to the applications. The panel may ask for a brief presentation of an application, followed by questions for the applicant and city planning staff. We will then hear from members of the public who are registered to speak, and we may also have questions for them. Finally, the applicant, who has the burden of proof, will have an opportunity to make final comments and reply. Please address your comments to me as the chair, starting with your name and spelling if necessary and your municipal address for the record. All presentations are limited to 5 minutes. Any exceptions will be at my discretion. At the end of the hearing, the panel may either make an oral decision or we may reserve our decision, which means it won't be delivered today. In either case, and within 10 days, the Committee of Adjustment will send the official written decision and reasons for it to all parties, participants, and anyone else who has requested a copy. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. We will have to deal with some matters before we get into the applications. First of all, are there any declarations of interest by the panel members? No? Thank you. Confirmations of minutes of previous hearings. To be precise, the hearing on December the 13th, 2023, and January the 16th, 2024. Are we all in agreement that those are proper and appropriate? Yes? Okay. Thank you. We'll start with any requests for adjournments. And I understand from what we've been presented with that items number 5 and 6, excuse me, Planning Department has asked that they be adjourned. Is that correct? Sorry.
Good morning, Chair.
Yes.
Yes.
Items number 5 and 6, which are 6,000 Ferry and 50/50 Ferry.
Yeah, that is correct. Planning is requesting an adjournment as we have not received any EIS for either of these properties, and they fall within the Natural Heritage System core area.
Okay, is that the reason why you're asking them to be adjourned, sir?
That's correct.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Do you want to come forward here and sit at the desk and turn on the microphone and give us your name and address, if you wouldn't mind? Yes, sir. And your name?
Okay. Hello. Yes. Sounds good.
Okay. You've heard the city wants it adjourned. What are your thoughts on that, sir?
Yes. No, because I can't do the scoped environmental impact study, which we discussed at the last one, it can't be done till the spring. So
yeah, so there's no
yeah,
point in going ahead.
That's right.
Okay. Now, since it's not going to be done till the spring, that's quite a few weeks from now, unfortunately. we would like to adjourn at sine die. Are you okay with that? Do you know what that means?
Sorry, no,
Okay, sine die means that we will adjourn it, but not to a fixed date. When you have the EIS, you can let planning staff know and they will set up a date to come back here.
yep, no,
Okay, but
that's,
there isn't any fixed date in the meantime.
no,
Okay,
that's,
you're okay with that?
yeah.
Okay, panel members, any questions, comments? Everybody? Okay, it's adjourned, sine die then. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'd like to deal, there's one matter that is unopposed. Maybe just deal with that first so people can get on their way. It's 122 Bray. And hello, are you Mr. Dury?
Yes, I am. Brad
Oh,
Dury.
Brad Dury,
Yeah.
okay. I understand that it's not opposed, planning staff, everybody seems to be on side with it.
Okay.
Anything you want to add?
Nope.
Okay, members of the panel, anything, questions, thoughts? No. Can we approve this? Grant it? Grant it, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
that wasn't too hard, was it?
No, that was great, actually. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to the agenda. Number one is 17 Neely. Yes, okay. Are you all going to speak to it or just some of you or the gentleman
Yes.
at the end?
So-
Could I have your name then? I don't know if the microphone's on. It's on, okay.
So I'm Jonathan Williams, and this is Helen Couture, my wife. And we own a large property on Neely Street, and it's about 20 acres. And these are two of our neighbors, Dave and Jerry. And there's interest that they would purchase small portions of our property to make their own properties bigger. And it's a pretty straightforward application. We believe that nobody has any objections, that the city planners are okay with it. All the neighbors are okay with it. Nobody has any objections. The only issue that came up is what we call condition 3, which is that I guess in order for this to proceed, the city has some interest that we would do some land surveying on Thomas Dolan Parkway and possibly give some land to the city. We're not really keen on agreeing to condition 3, which pertains to just one of the two neighbors' property, number 2 Neely Street. That's Dave over there. And so we're just hoping that the committee will waive condition 3. If you need some convincing, I have a presentation that I could give, but hopefully we can avoid that. I wouldn't want to put you through that, but I do have a presentation on the issue of condition 3, if you'd like to see it.
Well, I'm sure that we would. Panel members, what are your thoughts? Do you want to hear the submissions? Yeah, I think, sir, if you wouldn't mind, if you could go ahead, please.
Okay, so I did send it as a PowerPoint presentation yesterday, and I guess it'll be projected. So condition 3 requires that there be 13 meters from the center line of Thomas Dolan Parkway to the shoulder lot line. And I guess that's so that, you know, in the future, if the road needs to be made bigger or the city wants to protect their right of way, and it's totally understandable. Then there's this request that we get this land surveying done at our expense to confirm this or to possibly transfer some land. However, Helen and I did go out with our trusty measure, and we did make use of the city's aerial survey. So the next slide, please. So this is when we went out just the other day, and that's a picture down Thomas Dolan Parkway looking north towards, you can actually see the Gatineau Hills and the Ottawa River. But the point of this is there is the yellow center line in the road. So it was very easy for us to use our tape measure and measure to the side. If the next slide, please. And this similarly, this is just looking south, and it shows the yellow line up the middle of the road, and there's Helen in the background, and we had made our measurements. Next slide, please. Boy, that's a bit small. So anyways, when we did our measurements, we got well over 13 meters on every measurement. The numbers were about 15 meters. Next slide, please. Okay, it doesn't show up so well, but anyway, so what we also did is we correlated the city's aerial survey with our measurements. The numbers were very, very similar, off by a few centimeters. And we had like numbers like 15.5 meters, 15.1 meters, and I think the smallest number we got was 14.9 meters. So the city already has well in excess of the required 13 meters. Next slide, please. There's a close-up. This is the little piece of property that Dave and Sandy are hoping to acquire. And you can see from the aerial survey, you can see the lot line, the property line, the center line of the yellow line on Thomas Dolan, and the numbers of 15.1 and 15.3, which once again are in excess of 13 meters. Next slide, please. And that's the whole length. So Helen and I have the 20 acres, and then on the right-hand side of that, that's our big field. And once again, all the numbers well above 13 meters. Next slide, please. Once again, just a little easier to see. So you have 15.8 meters down to 15.1 and 14.9 meters. Next slide, please. And then this is Dave and Sandy's existing lot where they live. It's about, I think, a quarter or a third of an acre, but that's that red rectangle, that's their house. And their lot is very sloped down towards the river. So in front of the house on the right-hand side, it's quite a steep grade. And I wouldn't say it's usable, but it's difficult to do anything. But Dave and Sandy don't have much of a backyard behind their house and the fence line. So our objective is to sell them the portion of land behind their property to make their backyard a little bit bigger, to give them some space, and that's nice flat land that they would be able to do things with. And that's the conclusion. I believe that's the last slide. And there we go. So we request that the city kindly waive condition 3 because we don't think it's required. And well, that's it. Oh, sorry, there is one more thing.
Go ahead, please.
Our understanding is that Dave and Sandy's, and I believe Jerry's lot as well, doesn't quite currently conform to the city's zoning requirements for lot size in our rural area. And by transferring this land to them, it would bring them either into compliance or closer to being in compliance with the lot size zoning requirements.
Hi, Mr. Kukkonen, could you comment, please?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Yes, so this is the standard condition that we ask for on these applications. The surveyor would just need to show the 13 meters from the center line on the survey or a signed or stamped memo. That's all we would be asking for in this case to confirm that the road widening is already provided. It's, as I said, it's typical for this condition that if it's already there, that's all that the surveyor would need to provide. As for the aerial photography, I would just caution in the future, it's not exactly exact all of the time. However, in this case, it's unlikely that it would be that much of a difference. But yes, typically the surveyor, all we're asking for is them to confirm it. It's not overly onerous, and we would like to see the condition remain.
So condition 3 would be changed then? Because it says road widening 13 meters, etc.
Yes.
But you're just asking that for the surveyor to confirm that there's a 13-meter widening. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
Sorry, I'm gonna read through the condition. Typically, there
Yeah.
is the clause that says if required.
So just to clarify then, if the surveyor can confirm that the 13 meters has already a 13-meter from the center line road widening there, they wouldn't have to prepare a reference plan or anything if that's road widening's already been granted in the past.
That's
Just to
correct, yeah.
clarify. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it would be sent in, submitted to the. Sorry, some feedback there. It'd be submitted to the city surveying. I'm just gonna turn my mic off.
Thank you.
That, excuse me, just a minute. So the condition wouldn't need to be changed? The wording wouldn't need to be changed. I just don't want these folks down the road to find out, somebody says, well, there's a condition there, sorry. Maybe just put,
We may have to add in a couple words there just to ensure that, but typically in that condition, there is that clause. I don't know if I
well,
have to
maybe,
go through more closely
yeah,
to
maybe
see.
just to condition number 3,
Mhm.
road widening 13 meters if required.
Yeah, so we,
Have we got the condition, staff, as it, the full condition as it reads, not just the
We do,
shortened version that,
we have the full condition, Mr. Chair, and we can ensure that it says if required in the decision.
you okay? Okay, yes, go ahead.
Sorry, Chair. I think the condition needs to be a little bit more, well, I haven't seen the actual condition from what planning has put down. But road widening 13 meters on Thomas A. Dolan Parkway, even if you just put in if required, again, I haven't seen the whole condition. It would still leave it open, a bit open-ended. As opposed to if the condition reads Thomas Dolan Parkway, you know, from center line needs to have a certain number of meters.
So the condition does read, across the complete frontage of the lands measuring 13 meters from the existing center line of pavement, the abutting right of way along Thomas Dolan Parkway. The exact widening must be determined by legal survey. The owner shall provide a reference plan for registration indicating the widening to the city surveyor for review and approval prior to the deposit in the land registry office. Such reference plan must be tied to the horizontal control network in accordance with municipal requirements to the city surveyor. Guidelines for referencing legal surveys. The owner must provide to the city surveyor a copy of the Committee of Adjustment decision and the draft reference plan that sets out the required road widening. The committee requires written confirmation from city legal services that the transfer of the widening to the city has been registered. So we can add in if required. And
Or we could add wording, if I could just interject here, I would just say, we could add wording to the effect that this condition shall not apply if the applicant can demonstrate that the existing or that the required road widening already exists. Something to that effect.
Sounds fine to me. How does it sound to you, sir? Or madam?
I just want to add that when we measured it, it was 15, more than 15 meters. So even if we had made a mistake by a few centimeters, we still go ahead the 30 meter that the city requires. So we don't see the need to have an official survey to demonstrate that, since it's already shown, like we did measure it at our capacity and as precise as possible. Therefore, why would we need to have an official survey to measure that when there is so much ahead of the value that is required? Thank you.
Ms. Henderson?
So I understand the effort that you put forward going out to measure, et cetera. And I noticed that you measured from, let's call it the yellow center line. Unfortunately, that yellow line that's painted is not necessarily the center line of the right of way. So that's why there's a little bit of potential discrepancy. Whereas if you have somebody go out, you'll need to have a surveyor go out for your adjustments for the lots, et cetera. You could encompass that and then be able to clear that condition.
So we thank you very much for your consideration on this matter. We are, for a variety of reasons, and we've also consulted with Dave and his wife Sandy, we're not, there's been this, we're just trying to transfer two small pieces of land to our neighbor. It's become a fairly big and onerous process involving lawyers, land surveyors already, a lot of work and many hours. And I think we're all in agreement that we're not willing or able to do any further work. So we request that condition 3 be waived, or we would drop the application to transfer the land to Dave and Sandy. So this condition only applies to the number 2 Neely Street property, not Jerry and Heather's at situated number 8. So if the committee is unable to waive condition 2, we would not, condition 3, we would not proceed with like one of the 2 applications, just because it's become too much.
Ms. Chandler.
Okay, I'm gonna make an attempt to help you guys give this some context. The request for the road widening comes from the city's official plan. The city planners don't have a choice but to ask for it. If we don't apply that condition, they may appeal and are likely to appeal your approval to the Ontario Land Tribunal. You do not want to go there. You can if you want, but from what you've just told us, you are not willing to take this application an extreme length, and that's an extreme length. So if we don't apply that condition, you are putting yourselves in that situation. The second thing is that the road widening, as Ms. Henderson explained, it's about parcel fabric rather than so much about the physical manifestation on the ground. So your measurements are great, and you've probably reassured yourself fairly well that you may not have to convey that road widening. But the only way to show that is to have an Ontario land surveyor. They're the only people who can actually say, checkbox checked. We as regular human beings can't do that. So what I want you to think about though is, while it's pretty incumbent on us to apply this condition, you don't have to drop that approval in front of us right now. We can make the approval and you can decide whether to proceed or not. You're going to have an Ontario land surveyor out there anyways to create the parcel fabric, have a conversation with them, see what extra it will cost them to do those measurements for you. You may find that it's like a very small amount, and that the box gets checked and you can move on. So that's sort of where you are right now. Is that helpful for you?
Just one clarification, when they talk about the survey, which survey are we talking about? Is it the survey in front of number 2 with regards to Thomas Dolan?
Oh, so Helen has raised a valid point that the wording of condition 3 is ambiguous to us. We don't know if they just mean the small along Thomas Dolan in front of Dave and Sandy's small area that their portion they're trying to purchase, or we don't know if it's the length of the whole 1,000-foot frontage along Thomas Dolan of our larger property. So the wording of condition 3 is ambiguous. There's a big difference between surveying like 100 feet along Thomas Dolan and surveying 1,000 feet along Thomas Dolan.
Unfortunately, it is on the retained and severed parcel, but again, the effort for the surveyor might be quite small once they're out there. So you should have that conversation with the surveyor.
Okay. Anything else you want to answer?
Dave, do you have any comments? I mean, I did wonder if we could make a payment. It's really the bureaucracy that frightens me about this extra step in the process. And I'm wondering if we could make a payment to the city in lieu of doing this condition 3. Like, is that an option?
No.
Okay. So I don't know if Dave and Sandy have has anything else to say.
No, I guess I would only add, I certainly, everything that's been said here is very clear.
Could I
I
have
guess,
your full name, sir, just before?
oh, I apologize, David Barry, to Neely, Chair.
Thank you.
Everything is very clear here and I appreciate that. I guess, what is, as we were just advised, this could be marginal, add-on, with, when the surveyor's out there. and performing work and, you know, some sort of minimal impact could be spoken about. The potential is also there for it to be a deal breaker from a financial standpoint as far as what, you know, if the surveyor is surveying the entire length of Jonathan's property and submitting filings and so forth, and then that just negates this whole kind of good neighborly transfer of a very small piece of property. So that's our concern. It's really about the potential of this request. On its face, it sounds reasonable and minimal. In reality, we're concerned that, you know, these professionals don't work for free. So it could scuttle what is very much a kind of a good neighborly transfer of a few trees.
Members, any questions, comments? Yes, Ms. Chairman.
It doesn't harm you in any way if you are approved by the committee to move forwards at this point. And maybe that's the first condition you want to crack and see if you want to proceed from that point. You can have an approval and never complete it and it goes away.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Mr. Vervoort.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, the committee has been pretty consistent in imposing this condition on the retained and severed lands. We went through this fight with city legal a number of years ago, and it's a requirement of the official plan. The fact that you did the measurements is great, but it doesn't mean the road is actually in the middle of the right of way. But it may well be that the road widening has already been taken at some point, and your surveyor could confirm that probably pretty easily without actually doing any survey work. And then you could decide at that point if you wanted to proceed. So I think that's sort of where we're at right now.
So we'll have the condition amended, as Mr. Vervoort said a short time ago. And is there anything else planning would like to add?
No, that sounds
Okay.
acceptable to us. And I just would like to note that the if required should have been in the condition, and I think it would work if it was re-added just fine.
I think Mr. Vervoort gave some other wording. Though.
He did, yes.
Very good, I thought.
Yep.
Made
Yep.
it quite clear.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Any last comments, the applicants? No? Okay. Panel members, do we vote in favor to grant? Grant. Thank you very much, people. Item number 2, which is 311 Fireside. Yes, sir. Maybe, since planning has some concerns, if I could ask for that input first before the applicant.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. We just wanted to highlight some concerns with the overall size of the structure itself. However, through the analysis of the 4 tests under the Planning Act, we do ultimately find that this application does meet the 4 tests in our opinion. But overall, just wanted to express some concerns as to the actual size of the structure itself, as it is quite large and it is maybe considered as it's just a very large accessory building in essence.
So just so I can understand, planning doesn't have concerns now.
Just wanting to highlight that
Okay.
the size. Yeah,
Right.
that's all.
Okay, sir, can I have your name and address and your comments, please?
Certainly. My name's Tyler Codling. We're at 311 Fireside Drive, and I can provide comment or brief explanation, whatever you deem fit.
Sure. Do we need that members? I don't think so. You have a question? Okay, we have a question. Miss Chandler has a question.
So the Ottawa Septic System Office noted concerns with respect to the location of the sewage system and well on your property. Is there a graphic that can go up on the screen and maybe Mr. Codling could explain to us where you know where these things are on your property for sure? Okay. And there's a site plan that was submitted. It's quite small in our paperwork.
I also included it in the visual aids in case I needed to present to it. So I believe it's one of the last slides I presented.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So you're looking at our property, the large square is the existing residence. The smaller square to the bottom and left is the proposed garage. If you look to the right, that's the septic field. So it's on the opposite side of the property. That's when we purchased the property, we had the septic field inspected to ensure that it was up to code. So that's where the septic field is. The smaller circle just attached to the left side of that is where the access, it's hard to see just because of the size. You can see just on the edge of the septic field, that's the access hatch where it actually gets pumped out. And then the well is under the residence. It's again hard to see, but there's a small red circle on the upper edge of the residence. So our well's actually inside the house in the basement. That's where our water comes from. So that was also part of the building permit application, was to provide those measurements. So I went out with a tape measure to actually measure to ensure that we greatly exceeded the setbacks required from a septic field to any sort of structure. For absolute clarity, where the structure is, there is nothing else there. There's no field, there's no utility, there's no trees, there's anything. This is chosen where it is because it's one of the highest parts of the property. It's set back from everything else, and there's nothing that it interferes with.
I am comfortable, given that you know where your pump out hatch is, that you have a good idea of where your septic system is. So that addresses my concerns. And I think the septic office would probably be comfortable with that as well.
Any other comments, panel members? Yeah. Was there anybody else from OSSO to speak to this online or anything?
No, Mr. Chair, there's no one else to
No,
speak.
okay. So granted? Granted. Thank you very much for coming. It's granted.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Okay, item number 4, 1500 Thomas Argue. Maybe we could just ask, there were some concerns planning had. Could you, okay, we're on the screen.
Yes, Chair. So we had some concerns with this application due to some official plan policy interpretations. After some discussion with the applicant and some clarification, we believe that our concerns have been addressed. It had to do with the number of lots that are permitted to be created in the rural countryside, the size of the lot. However, the special policy area for the Carp Airport supersedes those policies. So I believe we do not have any concerns with this application as a result.
Okay, applicants, can I have name and address and then your comments, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is
Sorry,
Miranda.
your microphone is on.
It's on, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Miranda Virginello. I'm a planner with Novatech. The address is 240 Michael Copeland Drive in Canada, Ontario. And I'm joined today by my colleague Greg Winters, planner and director at Novatech.
You've heard about the concerns of the planning department, and I understand there's 2 conditions that you are not in favor of. I believe there was conditions 4, which is the grading and drainage, and 5, the road widening.
Yes, so we previously made submissions both to the committee and the planner Just that we've already submitted a grading and drainage plan that fulfills the requirements of condition 4, and the survey plan that was submitted with the application condition fulfills the road widening, or sorry, demonstrates that the required road widening has already been provided for Thomas Argue. So that fulfills condition 5. So we just ask that those be removed as they've already been fulfilled.
Have city planning received what you indicated? The
Yes,
grading,
we're provided with
widening?
the application submission.
Is that correct, city planning?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so these conditions could be removed then because they've been satisfied, is that correct?
My understanding is we would want the conditions to remain, but they could be cleared very quickly as a result.
Mr. Chair, we're not objecting to condition number 4. It's a pretty standard condition for the servicing and grading. We acknowledge that city staff probably need a bit of time to just review the application in its entirety. So we don't have a problem with condition number 4 if it needs to remain. We were only looking to have condition number 5 struck because we filed down a series of applications on the exact same frontage of Thomas Argue. And in all these cases, we've demonstrated that a widening isn't required. So we recognize, again, just as we heard in the previous application, that if it needs to stand, we'll prove it. But we just thought the city staff could just take a look quickly at the plan and just solve the condition once and for all. Thank
Any
you.
comments, planning?
Sorry, I will note that condition number 5 does not include if required after the first sentence. We would like to see the condition remain, but with that wording changed.
So we could insert if required, is that correct?
That's correct.
Panel members, any questions, comments? Ms. Chandler?
There was a comment about serviceability. Is that no longer a concern? Size of the lot being very small, whether it could accommodate private services? Is
So
that addressed?
to address that question, we would still require a hydrogeological report to demonstrate that the lot could be serviced. That's the policy within the Park Airport Special Policy Area. There isn't necessarily a minimum lot size. It's just that a report is required to demonstrate that the lot can be serviced.
Any other questions? Mr. Verwoerd?
I understand your pain, Mr. Winters, but it's probably just easier to resubmit the R plan and we'll just add the if required to the road widening provision.
Absolutely. We're in agreement with that. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Okay, subject to that change, if required, can we approve this, members of the panel? Yes, okay, it's granted with that change. Thank you very much for coming, folks. Appreciate it. I think that's it. So we are adjourned. Thank you very much, panel members and staff.